Many people ask me if it's okay to put the car into neutral when slowing down or stopping. That way they can come off the clutch, which means there's less effort for their left leg, but also there's less strain going into the clutch release bearing. The answer though isn't a simple yes or no. It depends how safe you are, and a lot of that is down to your speed. Firstly, I'm going to show you 3 ways to stop a manual car. Firstly, the easiest way. Come off the gas pedal and start braking. When the engine speed gets to around about 1000 RPM, it says 10 here, but it means 1000, then you can hold the clutch down to prevent the car from stalling. When you have finished stopping, if you want to come off the brake, pull the handbrake up first or engage the parking brake. If you have an electronic parking brake, it may be a button. That way you can come off the foot brake without the car rolling. And if you want to come off the clutch without stalling, select neutral, then you can come off the clutch. This is the method most driving instructors in the UK use when they're trying to teach their pupils, simply because it's easier. The pupil doesn't have to worry about the gears or the clutch when they're trying to learn how to use the brake smoothly. I have heard via the comments though, that in some countries you have to go down the gears when slowing down if you want to pass your test. If you're from one of those countries, let me know in the comments. As I was talking about going down the gears, I'll demonstrate that method now. So I come off the gas and I start to brake. And as I brake, I change down the gears, lifting the clutch up in between each gear change so I get some engine braking. If I brake more rapidly, I could skip a gear or 2, but you don't use gear 1. Once you get to gear 2, when you get to the bottom of gear 2, which is around about 1000 RPM, hold the clutch down so you don't stall. When you have finished the stop, secure the car, which means handbrake or parking brake, however you apply that in your car. This one is a traditional lever, so you can come off the foot brake, and then neutral again to come off the clutch without stalling. This method gives you more control because you're in gear more of the time, therefore the gas pedal works. If you press the gas, you get going if you need to, and you get engine braking. And when you use engine braking, you use 0 fuel and you put less heat into the brakes, which can certainly help when you're going down long, steep hills. But there are many other people who would argue that your gears and your clutch are expensive, your brakes are cheap, so if you don't need to use your gears or your clutch, don't, and just use your brakes instead. Now for the method you've been waiting for, using neutral. So you come off the gas, you start braking, and when the revs get near their minimum, around 1000 in most cars, I know it says 10, I mentioned it earlier, it's times 100 for 1000, simply press the clutch down, put it into neutral and come off the clutch again. That way you're not straining your leg and you're not putting stress on the clutch release bearing. Once you've finished stopping, no need to go to neutral and lift the clutch because you've already done that. Just apply the parking brake and then you can come off the foot brake. Now you know what I'm talking about and you've seen all 3 methods. The answer: can you use neutral when stopping or slowing down in a driving test? Well, the answer is maybe. I'm sorry, it's not a clear-cut yes or no. Many things in driving aren't. Unfortunately, they're not either, because if you didn't have flexibility, it'd be quite hard to drive. The examiner needs to determine were you safe and were you legal. So if they feel that your use of neutral is unsafe, then they will fail you. But if they feel it is safe, then you will pass. If you're doing it at high speeds and coasting unnecessarily, they'll most likely feel it's unsafe. But if you're doing it at very low speeds, say less than 5 miles an hour in traffic, then it's hard to argue that that is unsafe. And it's hard to argue that it's much different than just holding the clutch down. There is a weak argument that being in neutral is less safe than holding the clutch down because there's one extra step you need to do to get going. If you're holding the clutch down and you want to get going, simply change the gear and lift the clutch up to carry on. But if you're in neutral with the clutch up and you want to get going, there's an extra step. You firstly have to press the clutch down, then change the gear, then lift the clutch up to get going. But the time difference between the two is negligible. They're almost the same. In fact, let's find out. I'm about to do an experiment and I'm going to use the digital speedo as a reference, not the analog one, simply because the digital one seems to update a little bit more quickly. For example, if I put my foot hard to the floor now, you'll see the digital one reaches around about 30 and the analog one is just a little bit behind. It does get there eventually, but the digital one always seems to be just a little step ahead. So use that for the experiment. I'm now going to time the difference between both methods. The first method will be holding the clutch down. So I'm slowing down, clutch is down, I'll get to about 10 miles an hour. When I say go, I'll start the stopwatch, and when the speed starts increasing, I'll stop the stopwatch. So down to about this speed, and let's say I'm ready to go, go. Speed is increasing. See what the time is, I'll put it on screen. Okay, this time I'm not going to hold the clutch down, I'm going to do the neutral method. So I'm slowing down, clutch down into neutral, come off the clutch, get down to about 10 miles an hour. Ready, steady, go. Speed is increasing. So time is on the screen now. I don't actually know the time yet because I can't do the stopwatch and drive at the same time, but I'm sure the time difference is going to be small, tiny, certainly less than a second. I just watched that clip back and I used the stopwatch from my phone to time it. I press start when I said go and I press stop as soon as that digital speedo started to increase. I did the timing several times just to get a level of accuracy, and I was getting between 2 and 2.3 seconds for both methods. There didn't seem to be a difference between both methods. Yeah, between 2 and 2.3. That's because my reaction time pressing start and stop on the stopwatch, but both seem to be more or less the same. So to say that using neutral is less safe than holding the clutch down is a very weak argument in my opinion. But also in my opinion, don't use neutral on your driving test. And that's because in my experience, many driving instructors don't like neutral when you're rolling. Some do, some are open to it, but in my experience, many don't. Happy for you to hold the clutch down though. And some driving instructors go on to become examiners, therefore there's many examiners who are once instructors, so their likes are going to be similar. If instructors don't like neutral, then some examiners aren't going to like neutral either. And although an examiner cannot fail you for simply doing something they don't like, you have to be either doing something unsafe or illegal for them to fail you, or a little bit unsafe but repeated many times for them to fail you, like a minor, loads of minors. It's a good idea not to do things they don't like, which is why I don't teach my pupils to use neutral when they're rolling at very low speeds in traffic, even though it is something I do myself. I get them just to hold the clutch down, but when they stop, then use neutral to give their leg a rest so it's fresh, which will help them with clutch control when they need to use it again, but it's also better for your clutch release bearing. I've actually directly asked an experienced driving examiner if it's okay to use neutral when you're rolling slowly in traffic on the UK driving test. And their response was essentially, it depends if it's safe for the situation. Their response was a lot longer, but that sums up essentially what they said. However, I can't stress enough how important it is not to coast down long stretches of hill, particularly steep hills. In Essex, where I live, there's not really hills big enough to stress your brakes. The steep ones go on for like 10 seconds and the long ones aren't very steep. But if you're in Cornwall, Wales, Scotland, Yorkshire, those hills are really steep and they go on for like minutes. And if you're only using your brakes to stay slow, they're going to be getting hotter, meaning they become less effective, and then things get scary. So particularly in hilly areas, don't coast and use lower gears to increase your levels of engine braking, helping your brakes stay cool. I have a video all about dealing with steep hills. I'll leave a link to it up there in the top right hand corner of your screen. But if you're in a long queue of traffic down a steep hill, you may be thinking, oh no, am I going to overheat my brakes because I keep having to start and stop in this traffic on this hill? Don't worry about it, because you have to actually be spinning the wheels at some speed to generate heat in those brakes. If you're doing less than 10 miles an hour in stop-start traffic, you don't need to worry about overheating your brakes. Just try not to get stressed out about how bad the traffic is. Here is an example of when I use neutral in traffic. I'm slowing down, approaching this queue. When the revs get too low, I'll push the clutch down, go to neutral and come off the clutch and continue to brake. That way I don't have to hold the clutch down. And when I want to get going again, I simply select the gear I need and carry on. In this situation, it's going to be first because I've stopped. But if I was rolling at, say, over 5 miles an hour and the queue of traffic started moving again, I'll put it in second and carry on. At the moment, I don't need to be in neutral because I'm rolling at a fast enough speed where I can be in second gear. I don't need to coast at this speed. But now I need to slow down even more. I'll put it into neutral and come off the clutch and use the brake. If I need to get going again, it's clutch down first, give the car a little push, clutch down into neutral and let it roll. I'm above 5 miles an hour, so this time I'll go to second gear to give it a push. And now I'm holding the clutch down because I'm getting first gear and I'm about to pull out of this junction. So I want to be in gear, ready to go. And if I was waiting a long time, I would still go to neutral like this if I can see I'm waiting for a long time. But if I can see I'm about to go, I think I can go after that white car. Nope, more cars are coming now. After that bike, yep, first gear, ready to go, and then I set off. I'm getting too slow for third gear now, so clutch down into neutral and just use the brake to finish the stop. About to go, so clutch down first gear, gas and carry on. I'm now down one of the longer hills in the town, so I'm going to go down into a lower gear, get the revs nice and high, so I've got some additional engine braking there to take away some of the heat out of the foot brake. More traffic here, so neutral, off the clutch, letting it roll. I'm above 5 miles an hour, so into second gear this time to carry on. First gear will be too low for this speed. I could use it, but it wouldn't be as smooth or as easy. Looks like I've got quite a bit of traffic now. This is where using neutral at very low speeds is going to be better for my leg and better for the, and better for the clutch because I'm not wearing that release bearing. And I don't know if I'm going to be stopped here for 5 seconds or a minute. I don't really want to hold the clutch down and find out. Been waiting here a little while now. I'm glad I'm in neutral and not holding the clutch down. This is particularly bad traffic actually. Last thing I want to do is be getting a sore leg as well. I'm fast enough now to be off the clutch, so I will opt to be off the clutch in gear. This car will go down to 4 miles an hour. Reverse sensors or parking sensors, should I say, are beeping at me. Normally that means there's a Ford around. Oh yeah, there's a Ford in front of me. My car seems to beep at Fords for some reason. Not quite sure why, particularly transit vans. And yeah, I'm not coasting at the moment because the car doesn't, I don't need a coast. The car can go slow enough without coasting. Now though, I'm getting a bit too slow, so just neutral, clutch up. And I don't see how this is unsafe. Got a car here on my left, got a car in front of me, got a wall on the right of me. I've got nowhere to go. I don't need to be ready to suddenly accelerate. What I'm going to do, drive straight into the back of that car. This is not an Avengers movie. I'm just in Colchester, Essex, stuck in traffic on a Thursday at 6:17 p.m. with someone next to me playing loud music, using their phone. Or they're just really interested in their lap. One of the two, I'm not sure. If I have just a little push to give, first gear, gas bite point, clutch down neutral, off the clutch and just let it roll. Minimal use of the clutch, and now I'm just rolling slowly, 3 miles an hour, using the brake to finish the stop until I get to go another 2 or 3 feet again. I think that time, in fairness, it was probably 10 feet. Aha, here we go again, gas and bite point. On this occasion, though, I think I'm going far enough that I can actually warrant being off the clutch and leaving it in gear. I'm staying fast enough, 5 miles an hour, but now clutch down neutral, and then just use the brake to finish the stop. This time I might even be able to use second. See the lights are changing, they're just gone red, no point. May as well just come off the gas, let the car slow down, and when I get slow enough that I need to coast, about this speed, just neutral, and finish the stop. So I don't coast at speed. I'm not saying I do that, I don't coast down hills, but in this stop-start traffic situation, holding the clutch down, I don't think it's a good idea. And of course, leave the yellow box junction clear. So until your exit is clear, don't enter it. I'm in second gear now. What a luxury. Well, I hope this video helps. If you think it does, please give it a thumbs up. Check out Collingwood and Confused in the description if you're looking for insurance. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, Collingwood are there for you because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy. Via the link at the moment, there's up to 35% off and a £20 Amazon gift card. If you want to insure your own car, check out confused.com. You fill out one quote form, get loads of quotes back so you can compare who's cheapest, and you can change your car on that quote as much as you like to compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.